Clay. Craig and I go way, I mean, I guess 5 years, but it's way back. Craig was, so I used to work, fun fact, I used to work in a school in Lake County, Tennessee. Actually in the building, he is in is a building that I helped put together for a nonprofit called Team for Success, which is still running and doing great things. And I will say this is the day that I die, that Craig should have had that job before I did. I'm still pushing for Craig to get that job to run Team for Success. So if you're at Team for Success, Craig has my vote. But yeah, Craig is just like an all-around superhero MVP of Lake County in Northwest Tennessee. He is kind of, you're like a college readiness counselor that goes around to multiple schools to help students get their stuff together to get ready to apply for college and their FAFSA and all that good stuff. But even the kids that aren't in the schools that he works at, Craig is at their house with his laptop helping them fill out the FAFSA. When I was in Lake County helping the students, they need to fill out FAFSA. I had no idea what I was doing. Craig was like, oh, I got this. I'll be over there in a heartbeat. Or come up to the school. We'll do the FAFSA there. So Craig is like an all-around good dude, all-around superhero, getting stuff done. Also, he's wearing Duke blue. He's the Duke head all the way to the death. He's also
Hey,
basketball.
but look, I got on Vogue Phi Beta Sigma blue. I didn't even think about Duke today.
He says that, but we know he's all about the blue. The Sigmas, Duke, he's blue, all the way, all the way. Also,
Blue all the
basketball
way.
coach took some kids on some trips to play some basketball, and Craig is a basketball coach and knows what he's talking about. So this is Craig Clay.
Hey,
Uh,
thank you for all those kind words. You make it seem like I'm somebody.
I
But
mean,
thank
you somebody, you somebody. And he also just eats chicken fingers and nothing else. So,
you.
so Craig, how are you doing? How's life in Northwest Tennessee?
I'm good. Life in here, life it's going slow right now, but it's all good. It's good. We're getting ready. Today is New Year's Day, so we'll go back to school Monday, January the 4th. School will open up for all kids. Some schools will be in person. Some of my schools will be in person. Some will be staggered, which means some will come Monday, Tuesday, some will come Wednesday, Thursday, and then on Friday, those that have been virtual and are failing or they need some extra help can come.
And how many schools are you at?
I'm the Gibson County College Access Counselor. So we have 6 schools in Gibson County. 5 of them are special school districts, which means, they have their own superintendent and kind of do their own thing, even though we're in Gibson County. 5 school districts, 6 high schools.
Got it. And so tell me through like what exactly do you do and from your point of view?
Okay. As the college access counselor, I work with the counselor at every high school. Our goal is to, of course, have 100% of everything. In Tennessee, we have this thing called Tennessee Promise. Our governor, a couple of years back, established Tennessee Promise. By the year 2025, he wanted 50% of the state of Tennessee to have some type of certificate or a degree. And to do this, he created Tennessee Promise, which it steers our high school graduates to a community college or a junior college, tuition free. It's going to pay for that direct cost. Or you can go to a university that has an associate's degree program. Well, since that has been established, a lot of these colleges, have established their own. Like now, UT has a promise, and Memphis has its own way of having promise. UT Martin, because if all the students went to a community college or technical school, the big universities started missing out. So they had to make an adjustment to this plan. But my job is to work with the counselors to get the kids to sign up for Tennessee Promise, what I just talked about. Of course, we got to sign them up for the FAFSA. FAFSA is a prerequisite of Tennessee Promise. Get them to do the FAFSA. Of course, we're signing them up for ACT. Within my job, we try to do some mentorship. I can think of a kid right now. He came in to fill out Tennessee Promise, and I could just, you know, read his body language, and he was just like out of it. And I was like, hey, just wait a minute. Don't worry about filling this out. I just said, just come outside and, you know, let's go talk. So it's more, you know, it's about getting things done in numbers, but it's also about, you know, listening to the students and helping them achieve their best goal. But again, and then once we get this stuff established, whatever we can do in the counseling office, it's like I'm a part of the counseling office in every school that I go to. So, you know, that's making sure the kids are taking the right classes, making sure their parents are involved in what's going on in school, what's going on in the community. And also in Gibson County, we have a workforce board ran by the mayor, Mayor Witherspoon, great mayor, Julie Allen. She's got married. I won't call her last name, can't remember it right now. But we try to merge education and business together. So if our kids graduate and they don't want to go to college, that we can let them know what's available in the job world. Then if they want to go get a quick tech degree and then come back and work there in Gibson County, they can. As you mentioned, I do live in Lake County, so I try to be of assistance there here in Lake County. So, because we don't want kids in the whole Northwest area. Like you said, I try to help in the whole Northwest area. So that's not my job. But since I am a citizen that does service through my fraternity, also being a Mason, I think it's my duty to help kids in the area that we cover try to make something of themselves. And you have to stop me if I talk too much.
Okay. So in your 6 schools that you work at, how many students do you have?
Okay. Let's see, my biggest school is probably like South Gibson. And when we're talking about kids that I work directly with, we're talking about seniors, okay? So South Gibson probably has almost, I might be off some numbers or two without looking at anything, about 200 seniors. Gibson County is probably right about 100. Trenton's probably right about 100. Bradford's my smallest school. We got about 36 seniors there. Milan, we probably got like 160 some seniors there. Did I name 6 schools?
I don't know. There's a lot of numbers that I was trying to calculate in my head.
I don't know the bottom. Let's say we're working with somewhere about 700 kids. I'm working about 700 kids. Let's say about that.
And so were you doing this when fall, August came? Were you doing this virtually? Were you in person? Were you hybrid? How did that work out?
Yeah, when school started back, all of our schools started in person. And then we had to make some adjustments as far as I think at least 3 of those schools maybe took a week off due to maybe teacher problems, not having enough teachers or substitutes, or maybe one of the schools had the cafeteria lady had it and the whole cafeteria staff had to quarantine, so you had to shut down then. But most of our schools here in Tennessee have tried to be open and in person.
Gotcha. Well, that kind of helps for you. I imagine that makes it easier for you to be in person.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because then when we're trying to, let's say, get Tennessee Promise done, for those kids who were virtual at home, you know, we had to keep sending emails and after emails. And then when the deadline started to come around, it was like, hey, we need you to come up to the school. You know, you have to give them a call or give their parents a call, you know, so we can try to get this done. It's definitely been challenging, but, you know, in the end, we were in position. We had great numbers as far as getting our kids signed up.
Got it. Give me 1 second. Something just happened over here. I don't know what it is. All right, so you're in person. You have to wear a mask every day when you go to school. How has been going to school during a you're not going to school, but going into schools during a pandemic to work with students?
course, we're just like the students when the staff goes in, temperature checks and, sanitize, make sure you're pretty clean because you come from your car and you open the school doors, etc. So washing your hands and everything. It's kind of been a challenge if we've had multiple students in an area that have been, 6 feet apart, because you got to constantly make sure if you're trying to tell them. I think one time we were just looking at information about different colleges and about the future, and we had it up on the board, and you're trying to walk around the classroom and they're spread apart. You're trying to make sure everybody hears you, and then if you're back so many feet, maybe you can take your mask and lift off so they can hear you. And then, being in a mask all day, it kind of feels like it's muddled up and stuff like that. It's just kind of crazy, but you got to protect yourself. They got to protect themselves. Just something you got to do. It took some getting used to. Now it's kind of like commonplace, maybe other than going to Walmart and get out of the car. But dang, I don't have my mask. Got to go back and get it. But I think the kids have adapted well, especially the seniors. You got to think about being a senior right now, and losing some schools in Tennessee. You talk about, I'm in Northwest Tennessee. You talk about Shelby County. They didn't get to play football in Shelby County unless you were at a private school. City schools did not get to play football. Right now, they're debating on basketball. So just being a senior, it's kind of like, I hate this pandemic for them because it affected our seniors last year and it's affecting our seniors this year. But to get back to answer your question, it's just, adapting with the mask, getting in there and getting settled. And, if the kids take them off, hey, you got to put that back on, just reminding them to put it back on. But it's not as bad as I would think elementary school is. I'd hate to be an elementary school teacher right about now and having to make them keep their mask on.
And the way you teach, are you like when you go to your schools, are you like you have a class for like a period of time, or you like students come in and out? Like how does your class work?
When I go to schools, I'm in the counseling office. So they can come to the counseling office and talk to me. Or if we're trying to get some things accomplished, we go in classrooms. Now with COVID, we're not supposed to have mass meetings like in the auditoriums and stuff where we would have like, say all the seniors in there and we're talking to them at one time. We can't really do that now. So I'm in a counseling office or I'm in a commons area. And then if we have multiple students, we go to a bigger area where we can separate them, where the counselor's over there talking to them and I'm on the other side of the room talking to them. We've done that this year when we had to get some of their, their senior stuff done as far as how they want their name on their diploma, getting that senior stuff done that they need to get done. So not a specific office, but in the counseling area at the school and sometimes in a commons area.
Got it. I forgot to ask, how long have you been working in education?
Oh, you're gonna make it seem, let me get a drink of water on that. Make it seem like I'm old. Ever since 2006.
So 14, going on 15-ish years?
Yeah.
All right, great. And going back in the classroom, how did you feel about being in the classroom during the pandemic? Were you nervous? Were you anxious about, this pandemic, I gotta be around these kids? Or was it just like, it's just my job?
Kind of like it's my job. With everything going on, I was kind of thankful to still have a job. And so I just looked at it as one of those things, we got to get done because, even though we're in a pandemic, the world is going to keep going. And especially with education, it needed to keep going. So, I just kind of looked at it as like, it's my job. Let's go. You got to get in there, and do what you got to do. I didn't really feel, I was never scared per se. Maybe worried a little bit, but once I got in the setting of the school setting, it kind of went away because it was just like, hey, you got to get stuff done. So, and I guess what helped a lot of the teachers and counselors that I work with had the same mindset. It was like, look, we got to get stuff done. We're in a pandemic, but we still got to get stuff done. So you come on, let's do it. So that's kind of the mindset that we had.
Gotcha. And even though you're in person, are there things that you guys are doing differently outside of like spreading students out and wearing masks? Are there other things that you guys are doing differently than you did last year before the pandemic?
Anything that we had to do differently?
Yeah, say for instance, like we're kids doing things paper, like we're doing everything digital now, or are there?
Yeah, I mean, some of our kids, like maybe they visit a college. Some of them still have went in person. They went, but some of them have done it virtually. I think a big thing that has hindered us, like we like to have in Tennessee a lot of parent meetings, so we can make sure that our parents know what's going on and the community know what's going on. That kind of hindered us because we usually have a lot of those to inform them. We've had some FAFSA nights or, like some senior nights. Some of them in council. Sometimes we've had them with like A through M, and then we've had N through Z. We had one set of parents in here for like 30 minutes. Then, you sanitize, and then you have another group for the next 30 minutes. Instead of having them all one, we've had it in like the basketball gym using the big screen, how they do it out in, you were in California, how they put it outside and maybe sit out on the lawn or something like that, and using the big screen like that. So some of that's taking some adjustments. And then, of course, if you have those meetings now during the pandemic, then your numbers look kind of, really bad, because you might have 5 or 6 people come out when you used to having like over 100 parents, having a lot of success by keeping the parents informed. And really, there's nothing you can do about it.
So in this case, are y'all like sending more emails to parents to let them know, like, hey, I understand you can't come to the pandemic, but you can't come to the meeting because of the pandemic. Here's what we went over. Like, are there other things y'all are doing to reach those parents now?
Yeah, a lot of emails from the counselors, a lot of what would you call that? What did slips my mind? But using the phone tree, using the you know what I'm saying? It's leaving me right now. But using the announcements on the phone, calling the home contacts and having just steady calling. Social media, Facebook, people are using that a lot now. Maybe a school's Facebook page. Everything's kind of open. The newspaper, local newspaper, just all these things we're using to get the word out about what we're doing. Or if you missed this, go here and look at this, or go here and look at this. Or if you don't understand, call this number and somebody will be here. Because, even though a lot of times if on those staggered days or if there was a school shutdown during the week, most of those times the teachers and the administrators were still at the school.
Gotcha. Okay. And so you're also a basketball coach, not in Tennessee though, technically in Kentucky. The location where Craig is literally the corner of Tennessee, Kentucky, and Missouri. They all meet where Craig is.
Right.
But he's also a coach in the state of Kentucky. How has the pandemic affected your basketball season?
We were, during the first half of the season, we had tryouts, and then that was it. It was like the governor of Kentucky was like, none of that. And so we started practicing December the 14th. And now Tuesday, we're getting ready to play our first game if everything still goes accordingly. And so that's kind of been different because right now we would have played probably about 10 to 12 games already. And now we haven't played any. And as Shane talked about, I'm kind of across the state line in Kentucky, coaching at Fulton County High School. The schools in Tennessee have been playing basically nonstop unless they had a COVID incident. So, I mean, it really depends on, where you are. In our situation, of course, Shane's been here, you can be in Kentucky in maybe like 20 minutes and one way. And then if you go another way, you can be in Missouri in like 20 minutes. So And then if you want to add like 35 minutes, you can be in Arkansas. So we're in this location where you can be in multiple states in less than an hour. So, but the coaching thing, it's been different, but it's good to see. You know, I go back to the seniors. It's good to be able to see the seniors be able to play. We got our season in last year just in the nick of time before COVID hit. So I was happy about that. But this year, I'm still excited about what we can accomplish with the guys, and it's just good to have them together and just, you know, be in that setting. You know, one thing about coaching that I like is that I remember we were in a huddle, and I guess it was like 15 of us, 15 of the kids, and all 15 of the kids are just, you know, staring at me glued, like I've got all the answers and everything. And it was on video, and I went back and looked at it. And at that time, we were losing by, probably losing by 30. And they were all looking at me like I had the answers. And you know, I'm like, I don't know what we're going to do, you know? In the back of my mind, we losing by 30. And we, you know, the team was bigger, stronger. They could play 5 in, 5 out, you know. But one of my favorite things about coaching is just that, you know, the kids look to you and just have them all in one room on one accord. And it's just something about that just, I don't know what it is. I don't know. But, you know, just trying to help kids. I like helping kids in every facet. So,
I mean, I feel like coaching gives you the opportunity to have an impact on students outside of an academic, in a way that's not academic, so that you can help them, you know, put in some discipline. You're teaching them discipline, you're teaching them routine, you're teaching them all these things that they won't get from a classroom, that will help them throughout life. And I mean, because I know Lake County, sports is huge. Friday night basketball game is like, where you going on Friday night? Like, that's just what it is in the community. So sports is just a big thing down there. So I can't imagine, for a lot of these kids, sports will be like the highlight. This high school sports will be the highlight of the things they do for the foreseeable future. So yeah, I imagine it's having a big, when things did get shut down, was having a big draw on the kids. But what are the protocols? Well, first of all, did y'all win that game? Y'all was down by 30.
Oh, heck no. We did not win that game. We came out, and of course, the ref talked to the other coach. We had a running clock. That's when I was the head coach of freshman. And we were just overwhelmed. That group of kids, I think they went on to either win a state tournament or they were runner-ups. They were loaded, but my kids were just, we were overmatched, you know. And you know that as a coach, but you don't, you know, confer that to your players. You just kind of tell them to dig in. But there was nothing that we could do. They were a juggernaut, if you will. But no, we couldn't do that. But at the games now, there's certain schools, certain protocols. Some people don't sell tickets at the gate. You have to go online and get your tickets to get in the game. They just had Christmas tournaments in the area, and you had to, only the immediate household maybe could get in the game. So you could get your parents in the game if they were in your immediate household, maybe your siblings. Of course, you're going to have your school administrators. Right now, some schools don't even allow cheerleaders to cheer. Definitely not away. So when we go to away games, we can't take our cheerleaders. They can just cheer at home. And so you got things like that. You walk in the door, you got to have a temperature check. You got to have a mask on. They would prefer you to sit with your family. I know at Fulton County, we've got sit here, sit here, sit here. Some schools have like a little blue stickers where you're supposed to sit at. So it's really different. It's really, really different. But now, hopefully, with the vaccine and some things, I know it's going to move slow, but I mean, I hope there's light at the end of the tunnel.
And how are your students doing, knowing that they can see across, it's not a river, across the state line, Tennessee just having a great time playing basketball? How are your students doing, or your players doing with that?
They've been upset about that, but they've kind of said, you know, that's the difference in, they're pretty smart. So they know the difference in administration. You know, like when governors make the decisions, um, you know, I don't want to get into politics. When you break it down, you know, some governors do things a different way. Some governors mandate a mask, some don't, you know, so they've kind of seen that adjustment. They've been upset about it, but now that we're getting ready to play, I think, you know, they're cool about it, but it's been an adjustment.
And so with practices, like what are some things you got to do differently now at practices since COVID, or everything just does runs the same?
Different in practice. Of course, you come in, they got to sanitize themselves. We got to take their temperature. We have a list of our players. We write down their temperature every day. They don't go to the water fountain. They've got to bring their own water bottles, or they got to bring their own Gatorade. You know, set it in place right now where they know where it is. So that's very different. You want to keep them hydrated, so you know they go to their own place where they got their Gatorade and stuff like that. And then I know when the games come, you know, we're going to have, like you've kind of seen, if you watch some college basketball on TV, where the seats are not going to be, you know, you got the coaches and players all right there together. There's going to be some space between them. And so making those little bitty adjustments, just a little bit. But I think now we're used to them because we practiced yesterday. That was like our 10th day of practice, I believe. So we're kind of used to making those adjustments. Then when we get ready to go to games, now we're not going to take a bus. We've got parents that have signed off for the kids to ride with the coaches. And if you ride with Coach Clay, you're going to ride with him for the whole season. If you ride with Coach Murphy, you're going to ride with him for the whole season. If you ride with Coach Hood, you're going to ride with him for the whole season. You know, just to kind of keep things in order. So if, say, COVID hits my car, but it didn't hit the other cars, you know, maybe you can hold on and play with those people in the other cars, just depending on if the people in my car have really, really been around the other kids, you know, the specifics of it, the contact tracing and everything. But, you know, we do what we got to do.
Gotcha. Well, good luck next Tuesday. And so for the future, and I guess next Tuesday starts the school year, but in the spring semester, sports, your education job, working with the high school seniors with getting into college, what are your hopes for a spring semester?
A spring semester, hopefully, when we start back on Monday, we can start back, you know, ready to go. I think it'll take some getting used to because the kids have been out since a little bit about mid-December, so they got to get back within the flow of getting up and coming to school, you know, getting up, sanitizing, you know, washing their hands as they come into the school, or using hand sanitizer, putting a mask on, getting ready just to get back in the groove. Hopefully that there will be no shutdowns and that we will go back to everybody at the school every day. Some of our schools, I believe out of my school, I know at least four to five of them are going to start back. We're going to go back with everybody. Nobody's going to be staggered. And maybe only one or two, possibly. I have to go back and look at my email. But hopefully by the end of January, and this is wishful thinking, that we have everybody at school, everybody learning, everybody getting ready to go to college or tech school or whatever your choice may be. If you want to go on a college trip, you can. I just, you know, really hope things kind of get back to normal for the educators. I know a lot of educators are scared. You know, some people, COVID has hit their schools and they've lost teachers, or they know teachers that have lost loved ones. You know, you want to be considerate of that because everybody doesn't have the same outlook on COVID that you have. You know, everybody doesn't want to be in person. You know, I'm one of those people that I just see just learning online has not been good for students of color, if I may say that on here. In our area, I have seen it be very, they've fallen behind. Sometimes the teachers don't stay on top of their assignments. as far as checking it, if the students have turned it in, the students that are not doing their parts. Some schools, and I'm not talking just specifically about mine, I'm talking about the area. Some schools, the kids don't have to check in, they just have to get the work done by a certain day. Some teachers are just, you know, packing it in and giving lots and lots of work, just making up for the time missed. You know, you got so much of that. And then you got a lot of kids failing. So then at the end of this school year, what are we going to do? Are we going to pass them? Are we going to fail them? We definitely know they're behind. We live in rural areas, so everybody doesn't have access to the internet. I know at one of my schools, we got some kids that just have to get a paper everything. Even in this day and age, some people that will see this and hear this, especially those in the city, you be like, what? Yeah, we have some students who don't have cell phones, who don't have internet access, and they've got to get a paper packet to do their work. And, you know, so we have that. And if they can't get any help at home, their parents don't know. Parents have been in for a rude awakening. Even parents who have went to college be like, I can't do this work. So you have a lot of people in our community, a lot of teachers have volunteered some of their free time to be like, hey, you can call me and I'll, you know, try to help you on the phone, help your student. It's been really bad for the athletes who struggled already in school, doing virtual online, trying to do their homework so they can stay eligible to play ball. That's been difficult. And what I've really seen is just like, you know, parents have had to realize probably that they really need to be more involved in their child's education than they have been. Because now when the grades come out and they see them, or they've been at home with their kids every day and see that they're not learning the way they need to, it's really been eye-opening.
So yeah, some school, I was just imagining all the schools in person. Some schools are virtual, and that's why I was like, that's great, because I know from my time in Lake County in the region, it's a different it's a different way of life. It's extremely rural Tennessee. Like one stoplight rule, if I can put that on there. That's the Lake County. That's not Gibson County. That's Lake County. It's one stoplight, and it came in 2014. So it's just a different way of life. Like there are, for instance, when we had, what was it, 8 snow days in a row when I was there, and it wasn't because there was a lot of snow. It was because there are no snow plows, and the buses have to go into back in the back roads, and you can't put everybody in jeopardy because you got to pick up a student on the bus.
Exactly.
So it's like that type of rural community. So the internet is not readily accessible to enough people to where this would cause an issue. And just thinking of, if students are getting packets, do the parents have to come get the packet? Does the school drop the packet off? Are they mailing it? Like, how is that happening? So I can imagine how in your community in Northwest Tennessee, it would be way more beneficial to be in person for a lot of students.
Exactly. Because then when you go virtual, you have to have packet pickup times that the students or the parents have to come pick up the packets. Then you have to have turn-in times for the packets to be turned in. Schools are also have to be responsible for feeding the students, even though because school is supposed to be in. So, you know, schools are responsible for providing meals so they can come pick up those meals, especially for those kids who are maybe in a situation where the only meals that they get are from the school. So the schools still provide the meals. You know, here, when you worked here, we had Team for Success going on, and then we had the summer feeding program going on as well. So we did the summer feeding program this year virtual. You could come into church and get the food and leave because the church was our base. And then we went to apartment complexes, and we were at multiple apartment complexes. And then we went to Ridgely. You kind of know our area. Mm-hmm. We went to Ridgely and fed also because we wanted to make sure that during this pandemic, during the summertime, that the kids were fed meals, healthy meals, and meals that would fill them up. So, you know, kind of some schools will have different places in the city where, hey, we're going to be set up here. We're going to be set up here. I know in Fulton County where I coach, they do a really good job of taking a bus into the neighborhoods and dropping off the food at one location. Some schools just centralize it and be like, you need to get here if you can. But in the summertime, we went into those areas where we know people may be hungry or maybe missing a meal, or maybe they wouldn't, and parents were not at home and kids were babysitting, and they come out and say, hey, I need 5. I got to feed my sister, and then I'm keeping my niece and my nephew, So, that's what we did. That's what we do in this area.
Yes, I do remember those summertime, because y'all helped us out. We fed students to the summer feeding program at the center where you're currently at. And just the geography-wise, so Lake County is made up of 2 small towns, Tiptonville and Ridgely. Ridgely and Tiptonville are probably 2 miles maybe apart of this long 2-lane highway.
They are, technically 8 miles from Ridgely.
Oh, 8 miles?
Yeah, it's Tiptonville and Ridgely. It's 8 miles. Supposed to be. Okay. If you remember when Bunny did like the little, and I don't think she did it while you were here. I don't remember, but she did like the little 8-mile soul steppers. Yeah, it's supposed to be 8 miles from Ridgely to Tiptonville.
Okay, I mean it has been a while since I've been back, so that makes 8 miles seems more legit.
Yeah, you got like that here. Then you go to Dyer County. You got Dyersburg and New Bern. It's probably like 8 miles separate them. You go down 51 towards Memphis, and you got Halls and Ripley. It's only a little bit separates them. You go towards Covington and down that way. So you got little small towns, big cities, or if you will, connect to little small towns.
And so when you think about students who are maybe virtual and school, at least I know some schools in the area are wholly and unfortunately and terribly underfunded. Is there a way that they're giving technology to these students who are virtual, or?
Yeah. Most schools are. Well, we'll take for instance, since we were in Lake County, gave them laptops to take home, and they're solely responsible for them. I think the thing happens if you take a kid that lives out in the country per se. What happens with their internet? Mm-hmm. What happens if they can't afford internet? What do they do then? So they made some exceptions as far as, every kid has a laptop or whatever. But what do you do about the internet? And that's a problem that I don't know that at one point in time there's supposed to be certain stations that if you couldn't get the internet at your house, you could go to this area where you live and there would be internet access. Of course, you can get close to the public library in town, and that Wi-Fi just kind of goes out and different people can use it around that within that location. But that's been one of the major problems as far as getting the internet access to those backcountry roads. Even though you've got a laptop at the school that's provided, you got to have internet access.
And then jobs. Did you experience any families where, parents might have lost jobs and been put into a different hardship than they were before? And how were schools providing resources for those families? How was that working?
Yeah, some parents had to leave their job to be at home and babysit because they didn't have, if you don't have an older sibling in these areas, you had parents who had to take sick leave to babysit their kids. I do know of a parent that she had to stay at home with her kids and she lost her job, but she was also very aware of COVID, and she really didn't want to go to work as well because she wanted to stay at home with her kids because COVID had hit the workplace. So she wound up losing her job as well. So that was kind of difficult because you have to make a decision: do I go to work or do I stay at home with my kids? Then COVID, leaving them with their grandparents, and they had pre-existing conditions. You really didn't want those young kids around their grandparents. if they had been out and about. You didn't want that situation. So it was very difficult for some of our parents in the area to decide, do I stay at home with my kid, or, do I leave them with their grandparents, what we normally do, because I still need to go to work and be a provider. And the major thing was, we're just coming off the holiday season. What happens to at the Christmas season if that parent hasn't worked? Gifts are not a necessity, but in the society that we live in, kids are friends with other kids, and like, hey, I'm getting this and this for Christmas. You got a kid over here, and it's like, my mom is just barely making it. She's been off with us, and maybe she went back to work, and she's got to use what would have been Christmas money to just keep them afloat. So it's just been really, really difficult in that access, in that that area, so to speak.
And I know this, but in Lake County and the surrounding counties, well, not in Lake County, but in the surrounding counties, there factory jobs is a big thing in Lake County. How has COVID affected that industry in particular, from your point of view?
I know that, without naming one, I guess per se, I know one in the area that they travel to Union City to. There's been some people who went to work, and they worked on a line with a person that had been in contact with someone from COVID, and they had to go home for 10 days. I talked to a parent, and he went to work one day, and by 10 o'clock, get this, the guy beside him said, oh, well, I've been around somebody with COVID. I think we need to go quarantine. So he tells the boss at 10 o'clock now, and you've been at this job till 7 o'clock in the morning. And at 10 o'clock, something just hit you that you've been around somebody with COVID. And so now everybody on this line, that's been within 6 feet of you, got to go home and quarantine. Even though if you go and test negative, you got to go home for 10 days. So that's 10 days that you've got to do some paperwork, or they've got it set up for you to be able to get paid within those 10 days. And most of the time it doesn't happen like that. So then you got to make an adjustment to what you got to prioritize, what I got to pay for and what I've got to put on hold until they get my check schedule, back in place. The prison here is a big, it's probably one of the biggest employer here in Lake County. So it did hit the prison system hard in the beginning, and then they kind of got it under control where they started testing every week and kind of got it out of the system, because at one point in time we were leading the state in COVID cases, and everybody was like, how does that happen? We're talking about per capita of people, not, you take into consideration Nashville, Knoxville, Murfreesboro, Memphis. We're talking about just per capita, and that was because the prison had over 600 to 700 cases. And they had to get that under control, but it didn't matter because, remember, those people are listed in our population.
I don't remember, because I feel like that was always a highly questioned thing. Nobody knew were prisoners counted in the population of Lake County. I feel like everybody else couldn't tell me for sure or not. But now that we know, this is how I figured it out.
Yeah, they're counted. They're counted in the population because you have. If you can remember for yourself, we don't have 4,000 to 5,000 people without, counting them. So you count them, at one point they're counted also in your STD population and stuff like that. So, it looks bad in a small area per capita of people, but then you have to reconsider everybody that you're talking about. So they're included.
And how many prisoners are in the Lake County prison?
Now that's a great question, because we have two.
You have women's and men's, right? It's a women's and a men's prison.
We got two men.
Oh.
The closest women's prison is down in Fort Pillow, Ripley area. You remember that, going down 51 towards Memphis? They have a men and a women's prison there, but we have two men here, two men prisons, and of course two male prisons, I should say. And of course the what I want to say, the commissioner over
the prison?
Hey, yeah, I haven't been in school, so yeah, my mind is going blank. But the commissioner over the prisons and everything, he's from Lake County.
Did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, he's from Lake County. The commissioner over over the Tennessee Department of Corrections. There we go. The brain is working now.
Got it.
Tennessee Department of Corrections. So the commissioner over there, he is from right here in Grand Ole, Tiptonville, Tennessee.
Got you. And so, what's the total population of Lake County, or like estimated?
We're somewhere to 4,000 to 5,000 people.
Okay, so it's probably around almost 1,000.
Yeah, and then and check this, like in one of the, not this last election that we voted for president, but we had a local election before that where only 1,000 people voted. I have on this, that goes with my shirt, vote. Only 1,000 people voted. So you're talking about at least 2,000 to 3,000 free people, not people in prison, that did not vote. It's crazy.
It is. So bring it all back to COVID and pandemic life in the area. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of factors that contribute to life in rural Northwest Tennessee. Jobs, tech / non-tech, sports, and you're kind of like involved in a lot of these things. What are you doing to keep your mental health at a place where you can keep going?
The pandemic slowed me down because, I hate to be still. So what it is kind of made me do, I've had to be still and just become more, I think I've read more. I think that I have just thought of creative ways to reach students when we go back to school, or different ways to just kind of think from a student's perspective of how I can help them is really what it's made me do. Of course, during this pandemic, of course, it makes you appreciate your family more and just good people around you. Also, before I came up here, I left Miss Cora and Miss Ann. They said hello to you too. Just ensuring that our elderly people in our community are taken care of. If you have to go to the store for them, if you have to go get them some things and just set them on the porch, in their carport or some things like that. We do that in small communities. So I've done some of that. And not only me, but other people. I don't just want to say like I'm the only one doing it, but we've done some of that as far as like helping our elderly get through this pandemic. Sanitizing, like if in a religion setting, I go to church a lot, making sure our church is sanitized. We had it sanitized several times by professional people. So when we go back in our church, just making sure it's ready. Just, little bitty stuff like that. Not to go on and on and on, but so I just kind of slowed me down, and I've had to think of different ways to be a better college access counselor, be a better coach, be a better community member, if you will, how I can do things better. And, where some of my shortcomings was. Just gave you a lot more time to think. And I think that can be good, because if you're just going all the time, it may not be good. So just slow down and think of how you can do things better, and how you need to appreciate things more, and just the importance of taking care of yourself. Now I go out, as you said, I was getting older earlier, making sure I got something on my head, or of course I always wash my hands, but now it's like when you get in your car, you use a hand sanitizer. When you get out of your car, when you go in the house, use a sanitizer. When you go into school, using sanitizer. You got Lysol wipes. If a student comes in and use a computer that's the schools, they use it and we wipe it off, because we got another student coming. Or if we had the parents come in, to work with them. You know, we work with them and then we wipe it off. And then here we go again. You work with them and you wipe it off. You know, just constantly doing stuff like that.
Still is not a word I would ever use to describe Craig Clay. Craig Clay is a goer. He's a mover. He don't sit still. Like, I'm pretty sure your car probably already got 70,000 miles on it. It might be 2 years old, if that. 2, 3, 4.
Oh, I just got it. I got a new car.
Another one?
Yeah.
Is it a Charger?
Yeah, it's blue.
You had that last time I saw you.
No.
You had another blue one.
Yeah, you ain't seen this one. This one is just this one is got it in September. Got it in September.
Which is why he changes cars every couple of years, because he puts too many miles on them. And I also forgot, Lake County has a huge elderly population. On the other side of that wall to your left is the senior center. I think it's on the other side, maybe not. Mm-hmm. And then church is a huge part of the community. I remember one day counting the newspaper, there's like 20 churches in Lake County. And so are churches back in person? Are they doing virtual stuff? Like what are churches doing? It's probably case by case.
We have, just thinking, let's see, we got a couple shut down. We got a couple that are doing Zoom only. We had at my church, of course, you've been there. Excuse me. We had watch night service last night at my church. We do, for the people watching or that may watch, we do have it sectioned off where you can't sit, you can sit on this row, but you can't sit on the row behind it. You can sit on this row where the blue tape is. We've got it. When you walk in, temperature check, sanitize, Lysol wipes, we got all that. So we've been pretty fortunate during this pandemic, probably to only miss having church under 5 times, because when the pandemic first hit, during the summertime, we were having church outside. We had church, we got a pavilion. If you remember our church, we've got like this area that's covered, I don't know what you want to call it, but out there. So we brought, some chairs out there, separated them, and we brought the podium and St. John number 2 around the corner. They brought their speakers outside and had people in the cars and, just honking the horns. And that's been common here in rural areas where they've had, excuse me, church outside. Yeah. So churches are going forward. Mm-hmm.
Sounds hot. Sounds real hot, because Lake County gets hot in the summertime. And that's great that y'all are able to adapt and figure out how to have the church going. Because I know church is huge down there. And just made me think of the community. What has been the response or the sentiment around COVID in your community? Are people taking it seriously? Are some people, is it half and half? Like, what's it like for y'all out there?
I would say it's half and half, because some people just going to do what they want to do. We did have a mask mandate. During the COVID pandemic, we've had a mask mandate in the county. We've had a curfew in the county. Yes, sir. We had a curfew where you had 1 week. We had it during the first spike. There was an 8 o'clock curfew. For people like me, that was like, oh, what in the world is going on? We had an 8 o'clock curfew. So the mayor, which who the mayor is, you had dealings with him before you left. And so he's implemented some of those things here in the city. We're not under any mandates right now. They would prefer that you wear the mask, but I don't think it's mandated. We're not under any curfew anymore. In a small rural area, here's the thing, like in Tennessee now, they have 25%, I believe, in restaurant capacity, maybe 50% in a shopping area. But in your small towns, you got to go to your stores, because you got those elderly people in the Wesley home, so to speak. Their only access is to the store right across the street. They can't go out of town. And so it's the first of the month. They've got to get their necessities, or they've got to go out and pay their bills. So those kind of things have to be done, because where take it as in a big city, and maybe your elderly people can help them get online. We don't have that here. So you got people who have to get out, and so they've taken it seriously, especially when some of it is hit home. You know, when it hits home, it's different. Some of our elderly have had COVID. Some of our young people, I don't really think it's affected our young people, you know, to where it just scared them per se. But a lot of our adults, middle-aged and elderly people have had it. So we've definitely been aware of it. But I would say overall, people in this county have taken it seriously. 75 seriously, 25 not so serious.
Gotcha. Well, that's good to know, people, that the mayor is, you know, putting stuff in place that will help y'all get through this a little bit quicker and safer. That is all the questions I have for you that I have created. But I do have some Instagram questions that I would like you to answer, and then some fun questions that can be answered with one word or less, or you can do answer with less than one. A few words.
Okay.
So the first question is, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
How has the pandemic widened the opportunity gap for students that you work with or in your community?
How has it widened the gap?
Yes.
I think with not to pause, I'm just trying to think. I just think with the pandemic, you know, your top of the line students, you know, I take that back. I think everybody has struggled, from the top students to the bottom students. And I was going to say your top students haven't struggled, but that would have been a story, because in one of the schools that I work at, a 4.0 student with a 32 ACT, she said, I was struggling at home. I needed to come to school because I know I can get the work done, but I just need to make sure I have a better understanding of it. So she came to school and got back to her normal self instead of just learning at home virtual. So I think that the gap is getting wider, but it is from top to bottom. You know, I was going to say, no, it's not. It's just that middle to bottom range. No, it's at the top too, because you have some students at the top, your smarter students who are struggling. So I think that the gap is wider, especially if you have parents who don't know what they're doing, and then they start to struggle, and the kid is frustrated, the parent is frustrated, and everybody gives up. So I think when you go back to school Monday, you probably should have a lot of review.
Got it. And so just to clarify, do students have the choice to be virtual if their parents don't want to be back in school? Is that a thing that's happening?
Yes and no. Say for instance, Dyersburg, and there was a point in time during this pandemic in Dyersburg, they were just like, look, we have no reported cases in our high school, so every kid from freshman to seniors got to show up. We have cases in our county, but we don't have reported cases in our high school, so everybody's got to show up. Some areas it's up to your parents. It's up to your parents whether you go or not. But a lot of these schools that don't leave it up to the parents be like, hey, the kids got to be here in person.
Okay. Next question is, how can individuals like myself or Joe Smo down the street, how can they help you in education in your community?
I think people in the community can help by just making themselves available. And that may not be during the pandemic. It may not be person to person. It could be just, you know, hey, can I help you with your homework? Or, hey, your parents are working. Is there something I can do to help your family? Maybe going to the store for y'all, putting some groceries outside. I think just making themselves available, because you never know the struggle of your next door neighbor's kids. You think everything looks all peachy dory, hunky dandy or whatever, and it's not. So I would say make yourself available.
Okay. So I actually missed this question. You were in school. You've been in school, but March, May, April. I keep doing this wrong. March, April, May, June, July, August, September. During the summer, March, from March on, there was an emphasis and a new resurgence of Black Lives Matter and focus on police brutality and things of those nature because of what continues to happen in our country. Did you have to have conversations with colleagues, students, or family members about this? And did your school provide anti-racism resources to have these discussions with students?
Um, since I'm not at the same school every day, I don't necessarily know um, what was provided at each school per se. I do know that in the surrounding counties, a lot of surrounding counties that surround Lake County, there were marches. Um, there was not a march in Lake County, but there were marches in Dyersburg, there were marches in Union City. Um, I believe one might have taken place in Ripley, but there was one in Fulton County where I coach. That city is Hickman, but there were no marches in Lake County. So I did have some conversations with some students about how to handle themselves, especially males, Black males, how to handle themselves, because I don't think that they realize what older Black males go through, if you will. Like, when you walk into a store, especially, you got to think now, you walk into a store with a mask. So if you're intimidated by an African American male, and now he's walking in the store with a mask on, you think, so now when I walk in the store, a lot of times I will, if I've got a toboggan on or my hoodie, I will take it off, and I will kind of, because I've been wearing the mask that cover the whole face, I try to go into the store with one that doesn't cover my face, so to speak, as like all the way up here, if that makes sense. So, a lot of people wear the mask, the ones that you can pull up, come from your neck and go all the way up.
Mm-hmm.
Nose. I try to wear one that just covers just this nose and mouth area, so it doesn't make it seem like I'm this, 6'4" scary black man, because you've been in those situations where, you get in the elevator and somebody moves to the other side, or you walk in the store and they kind of, can I help you? I was like, no, I'm just looking. And then I move to another area, and then there you are. Our younger Black males don't realize that. They think everything is just like, oh, it's gonna be all right, or they gotta respect us just like we respect them, and it doesn't happen like that. And so that's one of the biggest thing I think that we have to convey to the younger generation of Black males, is that the world is not as friendly as you think it is, because y'all have grown up in this era where everything, Miss Ann and Miss Core were saying to me, she said, only thing our kids know about Dr. King right now is that they get out of school. And I said, yeah, you probably know that's right. I said, well, I would say because the closeness that we're about 100 miles from Memphis. I said, they know that he was killed in Memphis. Of course, here at Team for Success, we've tried to make sure that we've taken our kids to the Civil Rights Museum multiple times. My major in school was history, so I try to make sure that the kids stay up on the history. But and we celebrate Black History Month here at Team for Success, and just trying to make sure that they do know history, things like that. But when they said that struck a chord with me, because as you talked about, I'm old now. I remember when I was young, we didn't get out of school for Dr. Martin Luther King Day. When I was growing up, we didn't get out of school. Now, some people I had friends and their parents let them stay at home, but my mama wasn't going. So I had to go to school on Martin Luther King Day until I think it became a holiday when I was like 6 or 7, something like that. But everybody was not even agreeing that Dr. King should have a holiday. So during this Black Lives Matter movement, we just need to make sure that the younger generation knows, if you're going to march, that what you're marching for. What are you trying to accomplish? And just because you do it one time does that mean that everything's going to be okay? You know, I've had people in this community say, hey, we're waiting on you to what we need to do, because I'm a member of it for some civic organizations. So we're waiting on y'all. I'm like, okay. So if we get a march together, and you stop me if I'm talking too much. We get a march together and nobody's behind us. What's the use? So you telling me my fraternity needs to get a march together, or because I'm a Mason, we need to get a march together. So we get it organized and it's just us. And there's nobody behind us marching. What? You know? So a lot of people will say sometimes you need to do things, but where are you? I'll leave it at that.
All right. To the next question. Do you feel that your health was disregarded at any point during this fall semester?
No.
Okay. Do you have any kids that you have to work with virtually on your computer?
Yeah, we've had some that did not come to school at all. So we've had to get on the phone, or some of the counselors that I work with, they do Zoom as far as like during the FAFSA, during the Zoom, or doing Zoom with parent questions, things of that nature, you know, Zoom extra tutoring. So that has happened.
Yeah. Have you learned anything from those Zoom working with virtual students that you couldn't have learned in a school setting?
Not really. You kind of get a taste of what's going on in their home, in the background and their surroundings. Then you realize some kids don't really know how to use technology as well. And so we've done a poor job of teaching them how to use the technology. You know, you just assume that everybody knows how to Zoom, and you just assume that everybody knows how to set up a computer, or everybody knows how to do a PowerPoint, or everybody knows how to do, just for example, a resume. And a lot of our kids don't know how to do that without being taught. And sometimes it can't just be taught once. It has to be retaught. You have to reinforce it and this is how you do this. So this is the correct way on Zoom, because, you know, a lot of our students, they talk like they text.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to try to change that, because if you've been in an environment at home like that, you've not been going to school, you get stuck in that home environment and you're talking like that. So you got to kind of clean that up.
Gotcha. All right, that's all the Instagram submitted questions. Now for the short ones that can be answered in a few words or less. First one is, what was your favorite subject in school?
My greatest subject?
Favorite subject.
Favorite subject? Oh, my favorite subject was history.
What is your favorite dish to eat? I would say restaurant, but you ain't really many restaurants in County, and everybody likes to choose from. So what's your favorite dish to eat?
I don't stray too far from the sidewalk when I go to a restaurant, you know, so Shane knows that I'm pretty much eating chicken strips. But I go to IHOP though, like I like chicken and waffles and pancakes though.
If you want a coach or an educator, what would you be doing professionally?
If I wasn't a coach or an educator, what else would I be doing? That's a good question. Because I didn't really go to school to be a teacher. You know, you go to school, you don't know what you're going to do, and then it just like happens. I know I could not work in the healthcare field. I couldn't, because I just couldn't do that. I just couldn't do that. I don't know. I think I would always be in some form of education. I like to be in higher education or be in coaching at a college, you know, doing that. But I think I would still be in the same area. I don't see me doing anything else.
And I just realized in that answer, I skipped the very first question. How'd you get an education? Take me through your journey from school to where you are now.
I went to college, Yeah, UT Knoxville, and started out, and I just know I wanted to go to college. And when I got there, I did choose history as my major because I like history. And then, you know, you get to the end, you kind of decide, okay, what? I got to do something. And then I said, okay, well, I'm going to do history and education. And, you know, I kind of stuck with that. And then graduate. And then we had a phenomenal superintendent at the time in Lake County by the name of Joy Hassel. And he was like, come home and, you know, we need more Black males in the system. We need you to come and go to work. And so I came home. Of course, he got me an interview, but the principal at the time decided not to hire me and said, well, why don't you start out substituting? And, you know, my mindset was like, look, I didn't go to college to get no degree, you know, substitute. But, you know, I started substituting and did long-term sub, and then the doors opened for me to start working, you know, full time. That's another thing we have to tell our students. Just because you go get a degree don't mean the doors are just going to open up. Jobs are going to come from everywhere. It doesn't happen like that. Sometimes you have to take a job that's not in your field in education. I mean, not even in education, in accounting and whatever it is. You have to just kind of take a job and get your foot in the door and then move up the ladder. Then, you know, just coming back, being involved in the community. I think I've kind of always been involved in the community. So I pledged a fraternity, Phi Beta Sigma, in college. So I was always doing service in Knoxville. Then I went to Memphis and took some more classes down there. So being a part of community service in Knoxville and Memphis, and then just coming home here and just, you know, picking it up and trying to run with it and make my community a better place.
Gotcha. So back to the short questions. That just feels like I completely missed that question. What's the best gift you've ever given or received?
The best gift I've ever given. Wow.
Or received, one or the other.
Oh, one or the other?
Yeah.
I would. Now, I won't say the best gift it wasn't was that the best gift I've ever received? I don't know. Jerry and Gwen blessed me. I won't like go into it because I know them. Let me say the best gift that I think that I've ever given. And a lot of times I give my students or people in the community clothes that they can use, that they say, hey, you know, you wearing that shirt, I'd like to have it. You know, I just go home and take it off and then give it to them. Because someone taught me, don't just give away stuff that you just like wore forever, or shoes that you have worn into the ground. Give away something that can be of use to somebody. And so I've tried to, you know, do that for students, be like, hey, I like those shorts, you know, maybe get a couple of words out of them and give them those shorts. Maybe because they can't afford them, or, you know, or because that's something that they wanted and I can make that little bit come true. Okay. I'm sorry I didn't answer that in a short way.
That's fine.
But I know you can edit it and do what you need to do with it.
If you could only eat one vegetable for the rest of your life, what vegetable would it be?
What would that vegetable be, Shane? I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Okay. Pineapple. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, because, you know, I'm a very picky eater.
I know. That's why I thought this would be easy. I thought it would just be probably the one vegetable you eat.
What vegetable did you think that was?
I don't know. I just thought there might have been at least one.
I don't know. Skip that question.
Okay. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
No.
What's the most extreme thing you've ever done?
To me,
Yes.
camping in the woods where I knew there was snakes and all different type of animals.
Okay. Do you live by any mantras, and if so, what is one that you live by?
I try to remember that this, they say that people will always remember how you made them feel. And so I try to make sure that I make everyone feel like I've I have appreciated their time. Uh, I know this is supposed to be short. Let me say this really quick. I got a Facebook message from one of my students, and he was one of my white students, Caucasian students, and he said, "Mr. Craig, can I call you, or can I just give you a message right here?" And I said, "Well, I'm busy right now. You can just give me a message right here." He said, "Do you remember when I told you what I wanted to be in life?" And I said, "Well, no, I don't really remember. I just said, refresh my memory." He said, "I told you that I wanted to be a millionaire by the time I was 25. And he said, I just wanted you to know that I'm a millionaire already." And I was like, "Oh, cool. That's neat." And then he was like, "Not in money." He said, "But in life." He said, "I found my wife. We've got 2 beautiful kids. And I attribute that to you." And I said, what did I have to do with it?" He said, "When I told you my dreams and what I wanted to do in high school, you took the time to listen to me. You didn't laugh, and you encouraged me." And so I'm rich in life. And he said, "And that's all because of you." And he said, "Because um, just you listening to me and encouraging me in that little 10 to 15 minute span, it's just taking me all through life." And he said, "And I'll never forget that. And I'll never forget you."
Wow.
So yeah, that's huge. I got that message saved too. Uh, yeah.
Okay. Ooh, Greg out here blessing the kids. What do you think you spend too much of your money on?
What do I spend too much of my money? You would probably say cars. Um, I would say books and magazines. Like I've got I'll go to the bookstore, especially like African American history stuff or just history stuff in general. And when the bookstore puts it like at $7, I'll rack up. Like during Black History Month at my church or Team for Success, I set up my own table of books, magazines that I have. When I went to DC, I was blessed to be able to go to the White House when President Obama was the president, and to able to go to a lot of historical sites up there. And I got some stuff from the 1960s. So I do spend a lot of money on books and magazines that other people wouldn't do. Short answers.
Okay. How would your best friends describe you in one word?
A doer.
If you could recommend a book, a podcast, a TV series, or a movie, just one or all, depends on what you want to offer, what would you recommend?
A book or a movie. Of course, I'm not a big movie person. Um, right now, President Obama's book is very informative to me. It wouldn't be maybe to everybody else, but President Obama's book is, I think, very informative. And so every magazine and book that has come out that's got something to do with him, I got it.
Okay. What is your favorite movie?
Favorite movie? What is my favorite movie? I would have to say it's ironic that the real Joe Clark just died, that the movie was made after made after Lean on Me. And I was able to meet, no, I wasn't able to meet him. I was able to meet the real Coach Carter.
Mm.
But but talking about that would be lean on me. Yeah.
Okay. Best vacation you've ever taken?
Miami, baby, South Beach. Oh my God, I'm ready. I've been twice. I went once with a college friend, and I went once, hey, by myself. People don't believe it. Go somewhere by yourself. You probably can't do that if you're married. I'm not married, but go somewhere by yourself.
And did you drive both times?
No, I flew. We flew both times. Well, me and Mike, out of Memphis, and then when I went myself, did I fly out of Memphis or Nashville? I think I went out of Memphis, but then I got a car when I got there because I'm a big historical sites person. So I went to where the baseball stadium was, went to the University of Miami, alligators on campus, doing that whole type of thing. I like to explore the city. So I got to have me some transportation when I get there, but nothing like South Beach. At night, being on Oceanside Drive, being at the top of the building, seeing the ocean, seeing the city. Is this drink a little wine? Can I say that? Yeah, nothing like that. South Beach, baby, that's where it's at.
All right. What has been a bright moment for you this past semester?
A bright moment. Even though the students were at home virtually, and then we had some in person, my phenomenal bosses, superintendents, and principals still expected us to get the work done. And so when it was deadline time, I was really proud that the counselors that I work with, that we had at 4 of my schools, at 5 of my schools, we had 100%. And at the other school, we had 97%. So we really, even though our students were at home, when we had some goals that we had to attain, we obtained those goals with our students.
Nice. And what was the biggest challenge of the semester?
The biggest challenge was getting them to get those goals met, because if you only had 30% at school, then you had 70% at home that you had to contact to either get the work done at home, or come to school and meet us so we could help them get it done, as far as signing up for a promise and some senior things that we were trying to get done. So that was very challenging, and I didn't know how that was going to go. And but Tennessee extended some deadlines for us, but I'm a go-getter. I want to get it done at the first deadline, to be like, hey, we can get it done no matter if we're in a pandemic or not. We're going to get it done. But that was very challenging so right now we're in the middle of FAFSA season, and we like to get all of our students signed up for FAFSA just in case something happens. We want to have it done. So now when school starts back until the FAFSA deadline for Tennessee, because of Tennessee Promise, we're being like got to go hard at it to get our kids signed up for FAFSA.
Gotcha. And how are you, so students are at home, how are they meeting with you? Because there's not like a class period that you're in. Like, so how are they setting up random meetings with you? How's that working?
Like our counselors have Google Classrooms where they send messages. So they'll be like, they'll tell them that Mr. Clay is available and you can contact him, or Mr. Clay is at the school. And if you're virtual and you really need to get something done or need to talk to him, you can come up to the school that day.
Got you. And what type of technology are y'all using outside of Google Classroom and Zoom? Is there anything else y'all using to work with students?
Google. Now it's Google Classroom and Zoom are the main two. There might be some others that the other teachers use, but the counselors, we're doing that Google Classroom and Zoom, and just making stuff available on social media.
Okay. What is important for those who do not know you personally to know about you?
The people that are not personal, that I probably would help anybody. I'm just try to help anybody. Some people may, just because I'm 6'4", tall, bald-headed black man, think that I'm mean, stuff like that. But I'll help anybody.
Is there anything else you want to share before we conclude this interview?
No, I think I've tried to answer your questions. I didn't want to go off on a tangent. Before I came here, I was talking to Miss Anna and Miss Cora, and I was telling them all the stuff that me and you had talked about in prior conversations. And they were like, yeah. Shane was good. And then Shane has a lot of ideas, and Shane needs to come back and tell us those ideas because we didn't write it down when he was here. So, they said hello, and of course they believe they need to talk to you again so they can write down some of your ideas about how to use that Lincoln lot, which still nothing is on. I even mentioned the idea that you talked about bringing in a building and just setting it down, and then, doing it that way instead of building from the ground up. And we talked about how to, everything that we talked about, maintaining a building, a community center, and everything of how to get that done, because it's much needed.
If people want to follow you on social media, how can they? Do you want to give them your name? If so, what is your social media handle?
Of course, on Facebook, it's Craig Clay. On Twitter is Coach Clay 2, not Twitter. On Snapchat, I'm Coach Clay 2. On Instagram, I'm Mr. with an underscore under every letter except R. I know that's difficult. It's like M_I_S_T_E_R. It's Mr. on IG.
Got it. So go back to what you said, Ms. Cora, Ms. Amy. Yes, I definitely come to Lake County. When this pandemic is over, I will make a trip. I'm overdue for a trip to Lake County. This is about you. This is about Craig Clay, the man I feel like I'm indebted to for that year that I had in Lake County, because you were like my guide. You and Coach Craig were like my guides throughout my time there. And half the work I did, if not all of it, was due to you. Helping me get some stuff done, getting connected with people, and just being there to help me. And that is just kind of Craig. Craig is a helper. Craig will help everybody. He said it, he will help anybody. He does help anybody. The amount of people he's touched in this lifetime, a lot of people didn't touch. The amount of time you touched, the amount of people you've helped and touched in the sub 40 years, I know you're not 40 years old yet, in less than 40 years is more than most people will help in a lifetime. Craig is just an all-around superhero, counselor, community member, fraternity member, civic organization member, church member. Like, Craig does it all. And you're somebody that since I've met you, somebody that should get their flowers every day of the week, because every day of the week you are doing something to help somebody else. On top of being in the education system, which is already crazy. Then you're in a rural education system, which adds so much more into it. And I would have never learned that without that year that I had working in Lake County.
Politics.
And also now throwing a pandemic in there, I just can't imagine how you were still doing it. Go buy you another car, or have somebody go buy Craig another car so he can drive around the country, because Craig will drive to Atlanta, you'll drive to New Orleans, Craig will drive anywhere. That's why I asked if you drove to Miami, because that would not surprise me. It actually surprised me more that you flew to Miami.
Hey, but Shane drove us, our kids, to Atlanta. Well, at the time, I think I wasn't on the insurance, was it? So you had to drive.
Oh, yeah. I forgot that I did that driving.
You drove us to Atlanta. Then you drove us to Houston. And then we drove from Houston to, where were your parents at the time?
Shreveport.
And we left Shreveport, y'all, with teenage boys at like what time we leave? Like 2:00 in the morning, because I had to get back to run the summer program here. And so we got up from Shreveport at like 2:00 in the morning to drive back to little old Tennessee, Northwest Tennessee. And so Shane did all that driving. The only thing I say about Shane, though, we had one guy that played ball, and Shane wouldn't let that guy stay in his room. So Coach Shane was, about he wouldn't let that ball player sleep in his room. He sent him to my room to torture me.
Woo.
And, you know, so same, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was young, they respected you more, and I needed you to have that disciplinary, hard speech with him.
I put him in your room for a reason.
Woo, and I let him go back to your room. I forgot all, Lord, that you missed it, but when we got to Houston and you went to check in, I had a heart to heart, some strong words for the whole team outside because they just was not acting the way they're supposed to be acting, and they laughed.
I think they were. And probably they had been in the car. You know, it took us 10 hours to get to Houston.
I don't know. I just remember them being in the back talking about I'll kill you. But I was like, what are we doing? Like y'all are in high school, y'all are good friends. Like, don't use the words. Because we know you don't mean it, but like it was just a lot.
Yeah, that Houston trip, I think they had been in the car too long. We had a couple of kids who had never been outside of the state in that ride. And I think doing the AAU in this area, I did it for like, 2006 to like 2000. When did I go to Miami? 13. Craig, I did it for like,
I think.
Hit it. Did it come back in? Yeah. I did it for like 7 straight years before I took a vacation from. We had kids who never been outside the state of Tennessee. So we were helping them play ball, but also taking them places that they had never been or never would go. And so some of those kids, a couple of them on that trip had never been out of Tennessee. So it was for them to act out. And it's understandable. Before we get off, my phone is going down. I want you to see the building. If I can I turn this around? I want you to see the building now. Some of it's the same, but some of it's different.
I love the college tenants.
Excuse me.
So this is still recording, so I'll just say it. Quick note about this. I don't know what Craig is showing y'all. This is the building that I helped to renovate from a doctor's office to a community center 5 years ago. And it has transformed to, they got a little green screen to do YouTube videos and lights. Dang, y'all doing it big up in there. And yeah, it was a process, a long process. I told myself I'll never paint a room again because of this. But then if you look at where I'm sitting now, I painted this room. We had great help from community members. Miss Debbie Cox and her husband built those tables. Rhodes College donated those computers. If those are still the same computers, I don't remember.
No.
Good. I see that sign is still on that water fountain.
Well, nobody used it though.
It was for them not to use it. I wrote that sign. I'm surprised it's still there. But yeah, this is the building. It had a lot of issues. That water pipes busted. The building got flooded the week after we opened. Ooh, that was a time. But I wanted to say that student that I wouldn't let stay in my room, he did something he said helped me understand or have the biggest understanding ever in my time in Lake County. He always said that I was rich. And I laughed because I was like, dude, I'm not rich. And what I did with that statement was ask students on a bus ride from a basketball game to also help coach the high school basketball team. If you want to say I helped coach, I was there as, let's say, an advisor. To the kids, but I asked them on the bus ride home, what does it mean to be rich? And I'll never forget, probably my favorite student, who I feel like I did a lot for, and you know who this student is. He said, well, the student who kept saying I was rich said that I made $200,000 a year. I was like, well, if I made $200,000 a year, I would not probably be here if we're being real about it.
What you said?
And this is me at 20, I think I was 22 or 23 at the time. And the other student said, you get 3 meals a day, you pay your bills on time. No, he said, you pay your bills on time, you have a car, and you get 3 meals a day. And I was just like, I feel like that moment was like the most eye-opening moment for me ever in my life. And I was like, you're right, I'm rich. If that's it, then I'm rich. And I'll never forget that moment till the day I die. And I was like,
There was
we're not gonna say no
there
names,
was
still recording, but it was,
yeah, but I mean, I know who that was, right?
yes.
Okay.
I mean, I get it. It was the student who I came back to Lake County for multiple times after I left.
Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha.
yeah. So this has been Craig Clay. I feel like I need to come back to Lake County like now, but then I have to go out to the pandemic, and that's not really an option right now. But one day, and yeah, if you can get Miss Cora, Miss Ann on a chat on the Zoom call, we'll try to get them in the center or something. If y'all are no, because then y'all will be in person. Shouldn't happen because they're of the older generation. But yeah, something like that we should set up to talk about the future of what can happen in Lake County.
Gotcha. We'll try to do that.
All right. Well, I'm gonna hop off this call. I hope you have a great day, and thank you so much
for
this interview, and thank you for what you do for your family.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.